let's get to the movie review. Okay, so Invasion of the Bodysnatchers, 1978, based originally on a book, and there is a movie in the 50s, but this is the 1978 remake. And a lot of remakes fall flat. They don't capture the same ideas, or if they do, it's too much the same, not enough new ideas. This is one of the best remakes, in my opinion, because they build upon the original film. They change enough to make it much more unique. I think it's honestly better than the 50s one. Don't get me wrong, the 50s one is good, but this adds so much cool stuff that we'll get into here shortly. But first, let's look it up on IMDb. Invasion of the Bodysnatchers. First, it found, it clicked to that, so I'll just go to the movie. But now we want the IMDb page, not Wikipedia, because this computer doesn't let me go on Wikipedia for whatever reason. But hey, here it is, 7.4 out of 10 on IMDb. That's pretty good. That's not bad. What would the porn version be called? Invasion of the Bodysnatchers? Or Invasion of the Bodysnatchers? Oh my goodness, Dad. I don't know. I think it could be both, hypothetically. I don't think that's important, though. Anyway, back to the film. So, Invasion of the Bodysnatchers stars Donald Sutherland. And Jeff Goldblum's in it, Leonard Nimoy, Brooke Adams, who is sort of the main character, but then the main character sort of shifts to Donald Sutherland. And overall, this movie's really cool. There's a couple like small nitpicks that I have, but for the most part, it's pretty good. So if people don't know what the plot of Invasion of the Bodysnatchers is, well, let me tell you, because it's pretty cool. I feel like most people know what this is, but I'm going to explain it. So aliens come to Earth, but in a pretty original way. At least, from the book. Obviously, this is a remake, but still, I can't think of any other stories, unless there's stories that are just blatantly copying this, that are anything like this. So this is aliens coming in plant form as spores at first, and I like the scenes at the beginning. They show this like translucent goo floating through space and then coming into a water stream, and then we see these flowers popping up, and it's a good sequence. It's a good way of explaining and showing how these plants are coming from space. And then once these plants get into our ecosystem, they are able to replicate a human body and then destroy our human body and then turn us basically into a race of pod people, is what they're pretty well known as. They refer to them in the story and then the films as pod people. It's sort of like another take on zombies in a way too, because everyone's all sort of the same, but it's not the same as zombies, but it's a similar concept with all these sort of, not mindless. I guess, again, they're different than zombies, but it's similar in a way. It's big groups of people all thinking the same way. Anyways, what's up, chat? Kevin McCarthy. Oh my goodness, Dad, I don't know. Yeah, that's what I said. Kevin McCarthy from the 1950s original makes a cameo appearance. Yes, he does, and that's what I thought. He's the guy that gets killed. He's warning everybody near the beginning of the film, and he gets hit by a car, and Donald Sutherland, he still at this point does not believe that the pod people are coming, so he just phones the police and is like, okay, I saw this accident, and then they're saying they didn't see it. So I like the way they build this up. It's very slow build over a couple days, and we see the differences in people and the way people are on the street and just the way they show life how it is normally, and then they show it once the pod people have come and you see everyone's like looking, staring at Elizabeth or Donald Sutherland, and there's lots of good scenes like that. The build up and the suspense is very good in this movie. I guess I've got to get to work, but I'll check in occasionally. Okay, thanks, Dad. I appreciate it. But yeah, no, the cameo from Kevin McCarthy for sure. Pretty good, and I do like this movie in general, but I will get into one of the nitpicks I have, which is there's a part, and it's a cool scene, but there's a part where Donald Sutherland, they're all tired, because this is when the pods get to you, right? You're sleeping, the pod's beside you, it starts replicating you and killing you and creating the pod person. And Donald Sutherland, also I don't get, it starts off with the little pods, and then they turn into the big ones, and they don't really show how they change into the big ones, and there's a big one that's just sitting outside, and Donald Sutherland, at this point, he should know that the pods are turning into people, and killing the people, but he just falls asleep beside a giant pod anyway. Like, there's no way he wouldn't have seen this, so I thought that was a little silly. And there's another part, and it leads to one of the coolest scenes, actually, but there's a part where there's a busker or a street person, if you will, possibly a homeless person with a dog, and he's playing guitar and busking, that kind of thing. And that's one scene before the pod people have gone crazy and started to take over. But then later on we see that he's sleeping next to his dog, but there's a pod taking them over. So Donald Sutherland and Elizabeth, they're running away, but they see this on their way, so they're like, okay, he's like, I'm just gonna kick this pod. And I get it, but he just messed it up, and they show later, spoiler alert, I guess, but I mean, this movie's from 1978, so I don't think it's much of a spoiler. We see that because he kicked this pod, later on, the face, and it's a really cool effect, especially for the 70s, it's pretty fantastic, but they have the face of this man on a dog, so it means that the pod sort of worked, but it got kicked, so it messed up. So that's a kind of cool concept. Another thing that's cool, like that's not in the 50s one, it's a cool thing that's sort of added into this one. But one thing that I don't like about that is that I get that they were in a hurry, so he just kicked it, he didn't destroy it. But he could have maybe destroyed the pod and just straight up stomped it real quick even. It wouldn't have been that much longer than a quick kick. I get they're running from the pod people, they're trying to stay inconspicuous, but still, try a little harder to save the homeless guy. Anyway, I'm going to keep going on about this movie until I run out of stuff to say. I think this movie did well financially. I'm going to look down here and see if I can find the box office information. Here it is. So it had a $3.5 million budget, which is, for the 70s, decent. Now that would probably be like 10 or 20 million or something with inflation. I don't really know exactly, but that's my guess. Something around there. So it grossed 24 million. So it made a fair amount of money. That's not bad. Off the $3.5 million budget, grossing 25 mil. Pretty good, I must say. So yeah, this movie has a lot of good creepy parts. It's good build up, cool effects. Obviously it's practical effects because it's from the 70s. Leonard Nimoy plays this psychiatrist, and it starts off Donald Sutherland is friends with him, and he's trying to get Elizabeth to go see him, to see Leonard Nimoy, because she's starting to say, oh, my boyfriend is he's somebody else, but it's because he's a pod person. But then, of course, this was sort of a cool twist, spoiler alert again, but we find out that, yes, the psychiatrist is trying to convince everybody that everything is fine, don't worry, it's just a psychological thing. But then if we find out that he is a pod person, so it elevates it, makes it more exciting, more scary too, builds the suspense. Yeah, I don't want to ruin too much. It's a very good film. Like I said, a little bit of nitpicks. I wasn't really bored in it. Jeff Goldblum's in it. He's always good. Just see anybody. It looks like it's just Hugh still lurking, and myself, and whoever. If anyone else pops in, hello. We're talking about Invasion of the Bodysnatchers, 1978. And yeah, this is the best rendition that I've seen. There's been lots of bad like remakes, copies. There's one that I remember being pretty funny called Invasion with Nicole Kidman, and the difference with it is the way that the aliens spread between bodies and infect people is by vomiting into their mouths. So it's a little different than pod people, but it's pretty funny, and it's not a good movie, but it was kind of funny. And this one, Invasion of the Body Snatchers, 1978, is definitely the best one in my opinion. You know, if you like the 50s one, that's okay. It's been a while since I've seen the 50s one, but from what I recall, you know, it's good. And like the story is good. It's just the effects are better in the 70s one because they had better access to that sort of thing. There was more discovery. They knew how to do it better at that point. But so that was cool. And also, spoiler alert again, this one ends a little bleaker than the 50s one. The 50s one ends a little more hopeful with the ending. Not so much with this one. I mean, and I don't want to ruin too much. This is the very, very end, so I'll try not to ruin it. But I mean, it does get to a point where you're like, okay, maybe, just maybe, this one person's gonna be able to fix everything, but probably not. You know? So anyway, this movie is really good though. Like, it's exciting. So much suspense. You're always sort of wondering, like, if you've never seen it before, what's gonna happen? How far are they gonna go? Are they gonna escape? What's gonna happen? It's exciting. It's thrilling. And there's lots of scenes with the pod people and them trying to convince them that this is the right way. There's no pain, and humans are troubled. If you become a pod person, everything will be great, and that kind of thing. But you lose emotion. You lose being human. So there's that, of course, that sort of discussion with this film. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to be alive? And it's interesting. It's a very good, science fiction, alien movie. One of my favorite alien movies, probably. But no, I really like this. I am starting to run out of things to say, but if anyone wants to join me for a discussion, I'm going to pump the Discord again. If anyone wants to join the Discord for this reason, to talk about this movie, in the movie chat voice channel, movie talk voice channel, or if people just want to join it and, check out the updates. I'd say when I'm live in there, you can promote yourself. Lots of fun stuff. But anyway, I think I'm going to end this review and then we're going to do music. But first, let's just recap. So basically, this movie's great, but a couple nitpicks, a couple things that just didn't seem right. It didn't seem like the character would actually make that choice. Like with Donald Sutherland sleeping next to a giant pod, which he should have seen, and he should have known at that point in the film that he shouldn't be sleeping next to that pod, but he's just like, I'll just sleep next to this pod. And then of course he gets saved from that point, but still, it's sort of silly. Anyway, I am going to rate this. Let's give it, this movie's really good, but like I said, a couple things. I'm going to give it a solid 8.8. It's pretty good. And I think that's fair. It's a good film. I gave it a little higher than the IMDb rating. But, if you've never seen this, definitely check it out. It was on Tubi, and so was Misery, which is the other film I'm reviewing this week. But they took them both off because Tubi has things on. If it's a prestigious title like this or Misery, it'll be on there for 1 month, and then they'll just swipe it. They'll take it off. So I got to just barely finish this before they took it off. But then I started Misery and they took it off. while I was watching it, 20 minutes in. So I had to borrow it from somebody. But anyways, enough about that. I'm going to put on a song. Let's put on a beat, an instrumental beat, while I recap one last time, go over the rating, and this is the end of the review. Thank you for listening. Here is The Kisses from My Bitches instrumental from Patrick Jenkins. Alright, so Invasion of the Bodysnatchers, 1978. I like it. I like this movie a lot. I put this on the list because it's one of my favorite horror movies of all time, really. It's a classic. It's fun. It's scary. It's spooky. Jeff Goldblum's in it. Donald Sutherland's in it. It's just really a good film. Like I said, couple things that aren't perfect. Just some things that don't make sense, but you let it slide because there's so much other cool shit in it. Great effects, great acting, great suspense, and it's just a fun horror movie in my opinion. Check it out if you haven't seen it. Invasion of the Bodysnatchers, 1978, 8.8 out of 10 dogs. Alright.